Welcome to
the Neapolitan
Scoop Podcast.
My name is Steph.
My name is Shay.
And my name is Rose. Today's topic is in relation to the movie Bissonnet. If you're from Houston, then you're familiar with this street. The street is famous for prostitution, sex trafficking, drug trafficking, and much more illegal activity. Through the years, Bissonnet has become so infamous that a film was made surrounding it. We watched this movie and we just want to discuss some topics or things that either triggered us, were brought to us, kind of brought light to some new topic or something new, or that we got a better understanding from. Again, these are our own personal opinions, our own thoughts and experiences. You, as always, are entitled to yours. These are just ours. We welcome you to like, comment, whatever your opinions may be, based on you or your own experiences. Hey, even if you don't like something that we say, you're more than welcome to tell us. And then, Rose, shut up. You're talking too much. Whatever you want to tell us.
All right, awesome. So let's begin. So the first question I have for the board is, if you were a crooked cop, okay, what would entice you to go against what your badge stands for? So hypothetically speaking, if you were cops, what is something that would make you go against your badge?
I would just be crooked.
So first of all, if I was a crooked cop, I probably wouldn't be answering this question right now. Or if I had intentions of becoming a crooked cop, I would be like, you know what?
Be like one of those New York crooked cops. Don't care. I'm crooked.
Blush your tail light and say it's your fault.
You need to pay me $100 if you don't want that ticket.
Yeah, that's right. But no. I guess I'll start off. If I were a cop and became a crooked cop, what would entice me to become a crooked cop? I guess I don't know, because I'm a very loyal person, so it'll be hard for me. If I don't know, if I'm not going to do the job like I want it, like it's supposed to be done, I'm not going to do it. But let me jump out of that mentality of mine and think of it. I think some of the things that would probably entice me to become a crooked cop is probably the money, especially like if you have a family to provide for. And like also, for example, like in Mexico, a lot of cops become crooked cops for protection, because if you join a cartel or help the cartel, then your family is protected from the cartel. So I would that would definitely be something that would entice me to become a crooked cop. And also, honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, that's where my loyalty stops, because if you can protect my family, hey man, F this job. Like I need my family to be protected. So those are the two things I think would entice me, is the money and if my family's life depended on it.
Okay, awesome. Rose, what about you?
I think Steph touched on the points, like with all BS aside. I think definitely maybe my morality wouldn't let me be a crooked cop. But again, that's why I'm not a cop, because I know that based on that pay, they do not get paid good amount of money. And, bless them for being out here on these streets with all these people. But that's not something I would do ever. I wouldn't even think about being an officer. As a matter of fact, I don't know if I've told y'all, but when I got my forensic science, my bachelor's, I thought about going into forensic science, but there's only two ways you can do it. Like either through, I think one is like through the, through like going through the agency, the Houston Forensic Institute. And then the other one is doing CSI with the Houston, going through it with a police department, right? And to do that, you have to be with the police department for 2 years. And they don't start you out at a good pay. So I was like, do I really want to be a police officer for 2 years and risk being killed on the field just because I want to practice? Oh, no. I was like, no, that's not worth it. And that's one of the things that kind of pulled me out from wanting to do forensics, because I was like, I'm not going to be an officer, not for 2 years. That's too long. Maybe it would have been a year. I would have maybe even gone at it. That and the physical portion of it. Y'all know I'm not going to do that fucking physical exam.
She ain't jumping over no walls, no nothing. She ain't running no.
She barely walking.
I'm gonna be like, Go ahead. Go ahead.
Supposed to be like, can y'all
throw it
call me an
away.
Uber to get to the other side?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And I think for me, kind of similar to what Steph said, you know, so when you obviously they do background checks and financial checks, credit checks and stuff when you apply to be a police officer. And the one thing they want to see is like if you have debt, any kind of, you know, money that you owe, because obviously that would be like a question there for them is like whether you would be willing to accept money, take money from a crime scene, you know, because you have outstanding debt. So for me, I think good thing I'm not going to be a cop ever, but in relation to the situation, I mean, it would be money, I guess you can say, because everybody needs money. Just about everybody in America got debt. Even America itself has debt. And, you know, so I think the one thing that would really, if I was to catch like a woman trying to make her money and a man trying to support the cause, and if I caught it to avoid giving either of them tickets, citations, going to jail, making me have to do all this paperwork, all right, well, I want money. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm pretty sure it's sad to say, but, you know, life, it is what it is. You know, she got to make her book.
Yeah.
And it is deeper than just her making money because there's a lot more that goes into even while she's on the street. But initially, if she's doing it because it's something that's her choice to do, then if she's making money and he's willing to pay, then and I'm the one that's standing between either of them, then I'm gonna be like, well, what could either of you give me so I can just let y'all go about your day? I guess. So I guess
and I think we can all agree it's even like in our reality, those cops that do become crooked, or maybe not crooked, we say crooked, but they take, you know, money is because of that financial status. Like they're in debt just like we are. They had student loans, they have student loans just like we do. And you know, that money they're getting paid is not enough. They're putting their lives out there on the line. And it's like, is it really worth it? But if everybody thought the way that I do, we'd have no cops.
I'm not gonna lie. Thanks. When I was 24, I actually almost applied to be a cop. And then I literally filled out the application and everything. I had the credentials. And what drove me to apply was more so the pay. So, you know, it was like, well, at that time I was 24. So the pay.
Right. So coming out of college, 24, that's the most you made ever in your life. So
right. So I remember I sat there and I was filling out the application, filled it up to its entirety. And then after I was done and it was time to submit, I asked myself, I said, Steph, are you really about this life? Right. And this was during a time when cops were being targeted because of things that they were doing that wasn't okay.
That was my same reason.
The Black Lives Matter, you know, all of that going on. I was like, even as a Black cop, I was like, I don't even want to put myself, I'm not about that life. I got a family to come home to. And I will be that cop that when a call comes in and it involves anything that is threatening my life, I'm going to ignore it. And I was like, that's not, I had to tell myself, I was like, that's not why become a cop if you're not going to,
if you're not willing to serve and protect.
If you're scared, don't become a cop, you know, because then you're going to be scared and you're not going to do your job correctly, you know? And I think that's also one of the things that I feel like a lot of cops lack is some of them just go in it for the money. And when shit gets real, they don't know how to react because they ain't about that life, you know.
And then they're scared, and now they're just shooting people just because they're scared.
It's like it takes courage.
Which has happened.
It's kind of like people who sign up to go to war. You know, you're literally signing up to go to war for the people.
Yeah.
You're not willing to put your life on the line for it, or if you're too scared to put your life on the line for it, then why sign up for it? So needless to say,
because the military just has a lot more options. They pay schooling, they give them stipends, they send them other places in the world. So when you're kind of comparing the military to the police department, it's like, do I want my bills paid, my school paid for free? Do I want to go to school? And most police departments don't pay for your schooling. So
yeah, but you get those incentives. Obviously, the more schooling you get, it means the more money you make on the force. That's just after the fact, obviously.
Right. And if you die, and I think of it.
I mean, your family gets taken care of, right?
Yeah, I'm about to say your
Anything
family.
what happens,
Yeah.
they get yeah. But I think same as you, Steph. I actually did want to be a cop too at one point in my life, and that's the whole reason for me getting a criminal justice background, criminal justice degree, because I wanted to be the face of change, right? But then I ended up having my daughter at 24, and then, like you said, at that time, it was so much like conflict between like the community and policing. And it's just like you have these first year rookies just getting shot because they pulled somebody over and it went south, you know? And I had to take all that to consideration, knowing that I was a brand new mom. I'm just like, you know what? This is not exactly what I want to do. So I found a different route. But yeah, it can be a very scary situation. So people who are cops, I mean, I definitely applaud them, because it takes a high level of like, I don't know, is it confidence? Is it fearlessness? I don't know what it takes, but
definitely
it takes a lot for you to put your life on the line to serve other people, not knowing if you're gonna come home that night.
Yeah.
You know?
And shout out to their families too, because it takes a lot to, live with someone who you don't know. I mean, none of us know if we're gonna make it home, but their chances and their risk,
the likelihood, right, of them. Yep.
Yeah. So big shout out to all the cops out there putting their life on the line to, give us a better and safer community. I know I have a couple of cop friends out there, so shout out to y'all.
Same as well. Same out to my cop. Shout out to my cop friends.
Yeah. But I think this, in relation to Bissonnet, there was actually at the end of the movie, it was discovered that there was actually a crooked cop that was helping some of the pimps out with that were prostituting women on Bissonnet. And
trafficking. He was part of the trafficking.
Yeah, so he was, kind of like the person who was going back and telling the bad people that the cops was coming through, put your drugs up, put this up.
He's an informant, basically.
The informant, yeah, he was the informant. And like, I think they actually created a sting, and they thought they were getting ready to slam on this one particular person that they were targeting. And the police gets there, and he's sitting there playing dice. I don't remember what he was playing, but he was playing some type of game, looking at the police. Looking for. He was like, "Welcome home. Y'all can search it, do whatever." And the police was confident that there was drugs and all kind of stuff that would have landed him in jail, but there was a cop that was actually a part of the force that went back and said, "Hey, they coming through. Clear the room."
And got a good stack of cash too. That was this big.
After he walked out,
you just saved that man his life. Basically, you got him out of jail. Basically,
got him out of jail, but then he's still on the street terrorizing people, selling drugs. Because I think that was around what's that drug that they were selling? It was killing people. Fentanyl. Yeah. So so he was, they were selling that and people were dying from it. And then of course he was prostituting women. So it's like,
not the cop though. The other guy.
No, not the cop. The guy that the cop was the informant for actually was doing a lot of bad stuff, but he really deserved to go to jail. But because the cop was a crooked cop, guess what? He was out free, and he's probably continuing to do what he's been doing. So yes, but that's how we kind of got triggered by the crooked cop situation. So it's like, why do we have crooked cops? What entices them?
A lot of things, mainly money, mainly money, more so. Yeah. That's why that's one of the main things that they say that, they do the credit checks and all that stuff. That's one of the main things they look for. I mean, besides like physical fitness and drugs and stuff, they check to see what your financial history is, because they know that if you have a high amount of debt, you're more likely to be susceptible to receiving payments in exchange for law, basically.
That's why they got good credit, because they're getting money on the side to pay all their bills.
How you get this nice house? That ain't no police salary.
Right. Don't worry about it.
Right. Okay. Awesome. So next question. Prostitution. Do you think it is a choice, or do you think it's a method of survival for those women who are out there?
Who wants to go first?
I'll go first fast.
Okay.
Rose.
You can go ahead.
I think it's a bit of both. if I'm honest, because I feel like a lot of young women, they get baited into it with these, and especially and I didn't get to watch the movie, but just based on my research that I did from YouTube, I noticed that there are women who get baited into when they're young, 14, 15, by these men, and they seem to be in love with the girl, right? They tell them, oh, I love you, blah, blah, blah. And then next thing you know, they're encouraging them to have sex with other men for money. And next thing you know, it's like part of what they have to do. And they think that this man really, really loves them. So now all of a sudden they're doing this thing, and they're not really realizing that he's really using you as far as like a trafficking or as far as like prostitution. They don't really realize it until they really get older and hopefully get out of it to really realize what happened to them. So in that sense, it's not really a choice. They was naive. They didn't really know. They were blinded by what they thought their love was, blinded by somebody who they thought they actually cared for them, and then just found that they were being used on the back end. And then you have people who, and I found that there was this thing called gorilla. It was called gorilla something, to where a man would basically close the door. Sorry. A man would basically take the girl and say, you're mine now. You're never going back. And if you try to leave, I'll kill your family. I'll do this to you. I'll do that to you. So it's almost like a sense of like fear and scaring them into being a prostitute and making them think that if I ever try to leave, I'm going to die. My family's going to die, or something's going to happen. And then there's the other side of it where women who they didn't get a high school education. They have no educational background. They have nothing to fall back on, but necessarily the streets. And then they get there, and that's their source of making money. And a lot of them feel like, oh, I want more, but this is all I know. I don't have any education. This one girl, she had the aspiration to be on YouTube. That was her goal. Like, oh, I want to be on YouTube, and I want to have followers, and I want to tell my story. But you think about it, that's a small goal to have. Most people have like way larger goals, but because of her background, her father died, her father got killed. She didn't have a relationship with her mom, and she was trying to make money for her son, and she had all these things against her. So she was using it as a method of survival. So it just really depends on the situation. I feel like it can be either or. That's my answer. Yeah.
I agree with you to an extent. And I'm gonna just say, like, I think it could be a method of survival, but I also think that it's the easy money part that because as a method of survival, I mean, you can go get 2, 3, 4, 5 jobs. So
without a high school diploma.
Without a high school diploma, it's gonna take some work. You definitely gonna have to work. You're gonna have to wash some dishes. You're gonna put in some work.
It ain't gonna be the job you really want. Yeah.
But when you get into a profession like this, it's like you see this money coming in, and that $8 an hour, $6 an hour is looking like, why am I working this hard when I can make $100 in 30 minutes? That's very enticing, by the way. But I got that life. So it is a method of survival, but it's also like, okay, it's almost like the easy way out to me. It's like and then again, I'm also agree with you in a sense of some of these girls are very young, so they're easily manipulated, and like you said, the guys kind of mold them into what they want them to do, because they're so young, they don't know no better. So, the guys, like you said, are telling them, I love you. They're like, I'm gonna buy you this, I'm gonna buy you that. And especially if you come from a background where you never felt love and where you never got gifts, it was pretty much to each its own. When you feel that first sense of love, you believe it and you're like, okay, he loves me. And then once he shows you that he loves you, it's like, okay, you're going to do everything that he tells you to do, because everything that he tells you to do, if you do it, is out of love. And like you said, Shay, then that starts the cycle. Now she's sleeping with men. Now she's seeing, whoa, it's $100. I just made $100. A lot of them give the money to their pimp, and their pimp just continues to buy stuff for them. And it just turns into a repetitive cycle. So I agree with you. I must say it's survival, but it's also a choice. At the end of the day, we all have a choice. I'm gonna put it like that because they have a choice to do it or not. But again, when you're playing survival of the fittest, it's like the fittest. Why did I say the fittest? We're not at the gym.
Life is a game of survival of the fittest.
Yeah.
I got you, Steph.
Yeah. So when you're in that situation, it's like I got to do what I got to do. Again, if they have kids, if they have a family, it's like if your kid needs $500 to graduate, then that little $8 an hour job ain't gonna cut it. So you got to do what you got to do. So I think it's a little bit of both. It's definitely survival, and it's definitely a choice. I don't judge these women. I see them all the time, but a part of me is like, I always wonder what their story is. That's one of the things I always like. What is your story? What got you to where you're at right now? But yeah, that's my answer. Okay. Oh Lord, here comes Rose.
I know. I was like, wait, because listen to mine. I think prostitution starts from a necessity, whether it be necessity of money or necessity for somebody to love you or a necessity to feel. Because I've also heard stories about people that are groomed at a very young age, and by the time they get to the prostitution portion, they don't feel. So sometimes they feel like, oh, by doing this, I'm getting back at men. So I think it all starts from necessity. Then you would branch off into, I do it because I want to, because like you guys said, it's easy money. And then we go off to, you've been brainwashed, you've been groomed, and that's all you know in life. I think both of you said, you have a choice, but when you get to the point where you're so brainwashed, you don't have a choice. You have to be able to get out of that mind state, and pull yourself out of that. And that's why I feel like prostitution should be legal. Why? Because do you see a lot of that, trafficking and stuff in Nevada because it's legal over there? No. And then these women,
that they have like houses and stuff where they are like, in their own,
and it's a lot when you think about it. They have to go get tested. They have to go through all these health stuff to be able to do that, and it's escorting is prostitution. They just call it escorting, but it's prostitution. It's just high dollar prostitution. So my thing is, if you're happy selling your body, because some women are, some women are happy, some women like it, some women prefer it because again, it is quick money. Well, then let me let you make your dollar, and guess what? We wouldn't be in a government deficit if they taxed it. So that's how I feel about it. Now, when we talk about human trafficking and about those people that don't have a choice, it gets more difficult because those people don't want to be in that situation.
Especially when it involves kids and teenagers, they don't really know what they're getting themselves into.
I feel we were much more open to it, and we were more receptive to see when it's not legal, then we would recognize those. Now it's just because it's such a taboo topic. And it's funny because I've had these conversations before. It's the oldest job. It's in the Bible. So it's like prostitution's been happening way before Jesus was in this earth, So it's like, let these women do what they got to do, whether they do it by choice. Well, this is for the people that do it by choice, because I don't agree when it's, people that are being trafficked and right. But if you're doing it because you want to do it, then more power to you. If I had the body and I had no, I would do it.
She an entrepreneur at that point.
I guess the question I have is, so how do we separate the ones that want to do it from the ones that don't want to do it?
I think it's just talking about the topic, making it more public, because if it keeps being taboo, people are scared to talk because they're like, I don't want to be seen like a prostitute. I don't want to be seen like, oh my God, I'm selling my body. And it's like, if we were more open to it, maybe they'd be less receptive to telling us they're, being trafficked, or less scared of their pimps, or, I don't know. I think that a lot not only could we as a government benefit financially, but I think those people that are being trafficked and, that are being put in it without their actual acknowledgement, we could help them a lot more.
And I also think by like having those conversations with our daughters and stuff, even guys, I don't know how many male prostitutes there are, but just like having those conversations, I gotta sneeze. Ooh. Just by having those conversations with our daughters and like letting them know, like, if you may feel like you're in love, but if this man is forcing you to do things that you're not comfortable with, if you feel like it goes against your morals, and granted, we understand like teens are going to be teens, and not all teens are going to be virgins till they're like 30, let's be honest about it. But it's just like, if you feel like he's making you have sex with other men, and that's not something that you want to do, then maybe you should start questioning why you're doing this. Maybe you start questioning the person, and just having these open conversations so that they're not so green when it comes to what's happening to them. I feel like a lot of them is so easily manipulated because they're just not really aware of the circumstances that's surrounding them when it comes to being pressured into prostitution. No man who loves you is going to tell you to have, first of all, no man want another man humping his girlfriend. Let's just be honest.
Well, don't yuck people yums, but there are men that like to watch. There are people that like to watch, so don't yuck their yums.
From my experience, ain't no man who ever dated me want another man to hump me. And if you love me, the men I dated, they don't want me humping nobody else. It's like, and it's the whole cookie jar thing. Like, don't no man really want no man in his cookie jar. Don't be dipping in my cookie jar with my cookies.
That's not exactly.
Okay. Well, in some instances, okay, I can't speak for everybody because it's shit fetishes and shit. But in some instances, not all men want other men dipping in a cookie jar. So if he got you out here selling your body, having sex with all these different types of men, and then telling you, give me your money at the end of the day, this man clearly does not love you. He's using you for something. And I feel like we should have those conversations with them to maybe let them know. I mean, I guess it's different. It's different if you get in a situation that's a threesome. We know what threesomes are. I never had one. But we know what threesomes are. And when you're out here going down the street and putting somebody's car and he's driving away with you, what is that? They ain't no threesome. What is that?
I feel if your partner and you have an agreement and you're open to it, then more power to you for exploring your sexuality that way.
Should kids be open to it then?
Well, I think this is where when you start talking about the cookie jar, I kind of got a little bit discombobulated.
Like we don't call it cookie jar anymore. We call
it a vagina. Because I dated somebody who was older and he said he didn't want to buy his cookie jar. So that's where I got that from.
No, but I think what it boils down to.
Okay, Oreo cookie.
If like the young person or whoever is who's in the cookie jar and the two people are dipping in it, it's like,
why do we say cookie jar?
If that now I'm confused.
Because we're calling and that's the problem. I think when we start telling our kids those instead of calling a vagina a penis, what it is, like it's actually.
Well, I'm only calling a cookie jar for podcast, but we know what I mean. Well, I guess I wouldn't tell my child your cookie jar.
I labeled it as
what the cookie jar is. The cookie.
I labeled it as an explicit podcast, so we call what it is.
So,
all right, well, your vagina.
If your vagina, if your husband or your significant other wants to share your vagina with someone else and you are comfortable with it, then I feel like it's okay. But if at any point, if you're doing it and you're not comfortable with it, then you need to question, because again, nobody that loves you is going to make you do something that you don't want to do. And if you tell him, I don't feel comfortable sleeping with another man in front of you, and you still do it just to make him happy, then I don't think that's okay. Like, sis, it goes back to self-esteem and having insecurities. Now you're doing it for this man and you're just completely forgetting about yourself and your needs and your happiness. And I think y'all can come to maybe y'all can record yourself. You want to see another man fucking me? Let's record. We can record each other, and then you can go back and look at it. And just look at yourself as another man.
And see if you really want to see it. Because most men are too macho. They'll tell you they want to, but when they see things getting down and dirty, they'll be like, nah.
But speaking of threesome,
what?
That?
What? Oh, yeah, I think she cut off.
Oh, did y'all hear me?
She said,
No.
speaking of threesomes, that's what I
Yeah,
heard.
I said, speaking of threesomes, I'm like, so how do y'all feel about that? Like, has y'all any of
I
y'all?
don't feel nothing about that because nobody's dipping into my cookie jar.
No, not even dipping into your cookie jar. Let's just say your man say he want to have a threesome with another girl. No.
Let me start off because I think I'm a little more open to talk about my sexuality than you two. So look,
nobody
if it's
licking my cookie jar. Nobody.
Listen, I think I always say I'm very jealous when it comes to my bed. So I'm very open to try a lot of things. I'm very open to, but that is one of my things that I will not do because I'm very jealous in when it comes to my bedroom. It's like I don't want a third person involved because once you involve that third person, you're opening up your doors and your relationship to somebody that might,
do something better. He might like it better.
Show out.
You see,
they ain't gonna like it better than me, but I'm just saying, I feel like
say they ain't me, but
I think it just comes down to being able to. We'll try anything you want, but we're not bringing a third person to my bedroom because I think I'm open-minded enough for us to be like, okay, what's your kink? Let's try that. But if you feel like if there needs to be a third person, I'm like, you know what, maybe not. That's where but
if I'm willing to do everything you like.
But listen, that's if you're in a committed relationship. If it's not a committed relationship, baby, let's go. It's on like Donkey Kong. Because it's not a committed relationship.
I mean, I'm with Rose on this one. If you don't care about the person like that and you want to do it
don't matter, obviously.
But... yeah, go ahead, do it because you don't care if the other person do it better or not.
Right.
But if you're like
probably tired, be like, take it, just take this person from my hands, Lord Jesus.
Like, girl,
take the wheel.
You got it. But I've just, as a disclaimer, I've never had a threesome. But my mama be sitting up here questioning me, like, is there something you want to tell me?
I did not raise you like that.
No, it was just a curiosity to listen to how other people felt about it. But yeah, I agree. If it's, to each its own. I feel like it's your vagina, it's your penis. You do what you want with it.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
I ain't having
as long as you happy.
Not happening.
Shay's just like,
and see, with Shay, it doesn't make you happy. So if your man tells you to have a threesome, you're gonna say no. And if he's not happy, then
I'm like, well, if you really want that bitch, you go fuck up by yourself, and I'm out. Cause
damn,
I said no.
And that's having standards. That's saying, hey.
And then speaking about threesome, so okay, well, I'm not trying to veer from the topic, but talking about threesomes, it kind of got me thinking about the celebrity. So Ari Fletcher, who is Moneybagg Yo's girlfriend, she said that him and her have had maybe 23, 25 threesomes. And that kind of got me questioning because it's like, why y'all?
How much sex are they having?
Why y'all having so many threesomes? And
because he's a rapper.
Feel like, do he really want to cheat on her? But instead of cheating on her, they involve other women so that it's not technically called cheating.
And sometimes I think
it's a threesome.
I think men's intention is like, okay, well, it's not cheating if you know about it or if you're involved with it.
Right. So instead of them having to be like secretive about it, they're like, oh, well, let's have a threesome. And she's like, well, to keep her man who's buying her cars and necklaces and jewelry and paying bills and shit. Oh, okay, well, we can have 25 threesomes with 25 different women. Like, what?
I think that's just small mentality. It's like, oh, I made it big. Now I can do whatever I want. I don't think it has anything with, maybe on her, it's maybe lack of confidence, lack of wanting, or maybe wanting to keep that person happy. But on him, I think it's just like, oh, I made it big. Now I can do whatever I want. I can fuck 20 hoes if I want to.
Well, if you gonna let me, or we gonna do it together, or I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah, or I'm gonna do it by myself. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
I think he's living his real life rap video.
That's crazy. I just couldn't imagine because I would feel like me personally. I would feel like, am I not good enough? 25 extra bitches, like
that's a lot.
Am I you can tell me I ain't good enough.
23, like in how? What's the time frame? Now I'm wondering because that's a lot of sex. What's the time frame? I need a time frame.
I mean, they know a lot, so it could be when he got to town and he really wants some, and maybe he fly her out and then fly her out. Instagram females here and there, he can find a new girl.
So that means every time he's having a concert. he's over here having
that would be too much for my
honestly,
anxiety.
some of these people do, like, they just be trying to live out what they rap about.
Fantasy.
Yeah.
And if
it's
you're
just, I'm money back, yo, I can fuck who I want to fuck, basically. And then I'm pay her a little stack and she gonna come on this way.
I'd be getting tired of having to deal with all those people. I'd be like, my back hurt. I can't.
And listen,
first of all, don't catch no feelings for me, because now I'm gonna have to ghost you.
That's just
23 times just seems
you have to
very
think
excessive.
about emotions that are involved with it. Like, people
exactly.
like, if you
because women catch feelings.
Yep. And then
men do too.
Mm-hmm.
That part too.
And then that's how you end up with them love triangles that end up on the news.
Okay, well,
let's just veer off of the topic.
On topic. Question number 3. Domestic violence. So why do women and men stay? You know, it could be a lot of reasons behind that. But what are some reasons you think women and men stay in domestic violence relationships where somebody's beating on them and they refuse to leave? And I think, I don't know about Steph. I'm sure about. I'm gonna say I'm not sure about Rose, but we talk a lot.
Yeah,
however, from your experience, what will make a woman or a man stay in a relationship like that?
I think I've said it before. I grew up watching and being, part of my mother being abused by one of her husbands, right? And when I mean abuse, it's like physical abuse, right? And I think it's thinking that that person loves you, maybe thinking that you're so in love with that person. I've said it before, growing up Hispanic, it's like they kind of, most Hispanic households want to give you that mentality of, your man's your man. And once you get with that person, or once you get with your partner, you can't leave them. It looks bad. People are going to look down on you. And if they're beating you up, if they're not feeding you, that's, you keep that at home. What is it? Wash your dirty laundry at home. So I think as a Hispanic woman, it's just part of not wanting people to know your business, not wanting people to know, maybe shame. You don't want people to know that this is happening to you, because again, just like prostitution, domestic violence is a taboo topic, and I think I've told you guys, I'm doing my project on domestic violence. And it's just, I think it's when you look at it through a big scope, it's like, it's abuse, it's grooming, it's the person feeling like they're not worthy. It's that other person grooming you and telling you, oh, you're not gonna find somebody that's gonna want you with 3 kids, or you're not gonna find somebody that's gonna take care of you like I do. And it's just, it's people get brainwashed to feel like they have to stay in relationships like that.
And it sounds almost like an insecurity, because if you're believing what this person is telling you, you must really believe it's true. Like,
well, you get broken down.
Nobody better, for whatever reason they're telling you. Oh, you're not a good woman. You don't do this. You don't do that. You're not gonna find anybody else. You got me. Like, but
abusers break you down. Well, they break you down to the point where you're gonna start believing what they're telling you. Doesn't matter if you're not. It's just. They break you down, and they know how to get to you. In most parts, it's like this person also has financial, responsibility over their victim. And it's like, I can't get out because I don't have any money to leave this person, or I can't leave because they're the father of my children, or I can't leave because this, and that. They attach themselves so hard to their victims, so that their victim has that trouble leaving. Even, I read somewhere that it says the victim has to try at around an average of 6 to 7 times leaving their perpetrator, their abuser, before they finally leave that person. Can you imagine having to try to leave a person 6 or 7 times before you finally get to leave them? And it's because if they keep pulling you back, they keep, then, oh, I'm going to change. I'm going to become different. I'm not going to hit you. It was your fault. You made me mad. I've heard it all.
But you get fed up at some point. You be like, no, what, fuck this shit. I'm out.
And then there's something
at some point, hopefully you get to that point. And unfortunately, some people don't get to that point.
That's what I was going to say. Some people don't.
Steph, what about you?
I mean, Rose kind of covered it all. But my perspective on it is, first and foremost, it is October is Domestic Violence Month.
It
So
is.
to all the victims of domestic violence who are currently in domestic violence or who are no longer with us due to domestic violence, um, we are praying for you. And for those who are no longer with us, may your soul rest in peace. However, I think it's a very sensitive topic because my dad was actually a victim of domestic violence and he is no longer with us. However, a lot of people tend to tie domestic violence to women. You know, like women are mostly the victims, but there are men victims out there. But I think my thoughts on that, along with what Rose said, are like it starts off with a push and then it escalates and it escalates. And you know, like the first time it happens, catches you off guard, and you're like, "The fuck?" And then you're like, "Oh, you know, it was just a one-time thing. You know, it's not gonna happen again."
Yeah.
Then it happens again, but a little worse. And then it just starts to escalate and escalate and escalate. And then it gets to the point to where you start getting used to it. Because you've lied to yourself all of these times and you said, "Oh, it was just a push. Oh, you know, it was just a bang." And next thing you know, you're getting pushed down the stairs. Now you got a bruise on your eye. And then it gets to the point to where I think women or men the victims put it in their head that it's going to get better. They just think it's going to get better. It's going to get better. It's going to get better. And instead it's getting worse and it's getting worse because every time you allow it to happen, you're just giving the perpetrator more power. And Lord behold, you have a child because now you have a child. And like Rose said, a lot of victims don't want their children to grow up in a broken home, so they tolerate it, or like you said, shame. You know, they don't want their family to know what's going on. They don't want the world to know what's going on, so they hide it. And some of us probably get to the point to where we think some thankfully get to the point to where they're like, enough is enough. Yeah. Sometimes that enough is enough is when they're damn near about to be in a casket. It sometimes takes that. It takes being in a hospital fighting for your life. And or your children, you know, because not only does the man or woman become the victim in a relationship, sometimes the children do too, because they'll go from beating you to beating your kids and then using your kids against you, you know, and now you're fearing for your kids' life. So you stay there and you tolerate it. Others, it's money. You know, they're the main breadwinner. So guess what? Now they have control over your finances. They have control over your life. And if you're like a housewife who hasn't worked in like 5 years, it's going to be hard for you to get a job. And then let's just say, for instance, you get a job. They make it hard for you to keep the job because they're your method of transportation. So guess what? If they don't want to take you to work, they're not going to take you to work. You're just going to miss work. And if you don't have nobody to take care of your kids, you think they're going to volunteer to take care of kids? Nope. Because they want to keep you they want to stay in control. So they're like, okay, well, as long as she or he needs me, then I'm in control. But the minute they start seeking independence, and that's like the thin line between trying to get out and sometimes having to stay in, is that once the perpetrator realizes that you're becoming more independent and less dependent on them, the violence increases because now they're getting angry. And a lot of times when victims are actually on their way out, that's when the perpetrators end up doing things to where it's like, if you ain't with me, you ain't gonna be with nobody else.
Yeah.
Me and Shay were. Yeah, I was just gonna say that we was just watching that.
Yeah, and it's very sad because I know a few people that didn't make it out, and this was at a very young age. Like I was 18, 19, 20, and it was some people that didn't get to see 21 because they were already in abusive relationships. And then you have to think about the kids. Like I actually I didn't know them personally, but I knew of them. It was actually the same situation. Husband and wife. The wife was dependent on the husband for a very long time. I think he was in the military, and the wife decided to go to school, and he, I guess, didn't like it because, and I guess he was so insecure that he thought that if she bettered herself, she was gonna find someone better. So, and they had 2 kids, and at that time, I think the kids might have been like, this was maybe about 20 years ago, because I was young, so I was about 20 years ago. But he
You
ended
were two. You were two.
yeah, we're gonna stick to that. But he ended up actually coming to the school. I think she was going to school to be, I don't know if it was a doctor or a nurse, but it was something big. And he ended up coming to where she went to school at, and I think she was getting on the bus, and he ended up shooting her in the head.
Wow.
And left those 2 babies by themselves, because now he goes to jail. She's dead, and now you have 2
think
babies.
about that. It's so selfish. Like, you think about your own feelings in that moment about,
and that's all it is. It's just feelings. It's insecurity
about losing control of whatever situation is, and you have these innocent people, these kids who you helped create with this person that you once loved at one point, maybe still do, but you were a little bit delusional in the head, and you're willing to risk their livelihood, their upbringing, because you choose to put your feelings above theirs. That's, oh man, that sucks.
I think that's why I'm so opposed to, like, you know how it's a thing right now where they're saying, oh, la tóxica, el tóxico, and oh, there goes Steph is laughing, but it's basically saying my toxic, you know, like, oh, this is my toxic because they're doing this, they yell at me. Why are you proud of that? Like, to me, it's
people, like, this generation really embraces toxicity. They really do. It's like
that's just a turn on for them,
a badge of honor.
Yes. And to me, it's like, do you understand half of that stuff that they're doing is part of being physically and psychologically violent towards you? When somebody's controlling your phone, when somebody's controlling who you see, who you talk to, where you spend your money, that's not them loving you.
If you can leave or not, trapping you in a space, you saying you can't go nowhere.
Yeah,
but they are so proud. But they're so proud to be like, mi tóxica, la tóxica, el tóxico. Sir, ma'am, walk out of there. And can you imagine, like, just to add a little bit to the conversation, because, you know, I got to throw it in there for LGBT community, LGBTQ plus, because I don't want people getting mad at me. It's the stakes when it comes to domestic violence are even, you know, a little higher, just because the things that they go through, all the things that you can go through in a regular heterosexual relationship, but you also have that kind of, you have that uno monito. What is a monito?
I think she meant
I was trying to say minuto.
Oh, minuto. M-I-N. Okay.
It wasn't supposed to be a part of the chat. I mean, the video. I start chatting stuff. Y'all can't be saying it out loud.
It threw me off. Okay. Anyways, what I was trying to get to is, you know, now that other person might have that, oh, I'm gonna out you, or look, I'm gonna tell your you know, your parents that you're gay or you're lesbian or whatever it may be, and you know, for people that grow up in a Christian household or you know, in a religious household, it's like, I don't want my parents knowing that kind of stuff. Like, my parents don't need to know that. And now you have one more thing that they have on you. And now they're like, oh, well, if you leave, or if you do this, or if you do that. And I think it's just, it's just that much more.
I never thought of it that way. Like, that's true, because for, like you said, the LGBTQ plus community, that's one extra thing that they can control you with is, you know, and not even just reveal it, because, you know, some of them haven't, you know, come out to the world. So I can just imagine your partner holding that against you and saying, well, if you don't do XYZ, then I'm telling everybody what you have going on. And that's
your job. I'm going to go to your job and tell them that, you know, you're gay. And it's like, my job don't need to know all that. But at that moment, you have that moment of, oh my God, is this really going to happen? Is this person going to go to my job and go tell them that, you know, that I like women or I like men? It's I think it's another kind of level of, you know, that abuse that they have to live through.
Yeah.
At least for those going through domestic violence.
I definitely didn't think of that's another way to look at that. I never thought
Yeah.
about that when it came. I guess because I embraced the LGBTQ plus
Yeah.
community, that to me is like, come out the closet if you want to, but everybody doesn't feel that way, you know.
But then think about it. It's like, even for the people that are already out, you know, that they're loud and proud, it's like it's already a taboo when you're a member of the LGBTQ community, because now it's like you're already like I told the other day, I told somebody, I'm a minority on top of a minority on top of a minority. Not only am I a woman, I'm Hispanic, and I'm a member of the LGBTQ community. I'm like, so I'm a triple minority. Don't pull that shit on me. But not only, you know, are you a member of the LGBTQ community, but you have other things, you know, that, again, they might out to your job, or I'm going to tell your parents, or I'm going to tell members of here or there, you know, and I think it's just so toxic too in the LGBTQ community. And it becomes a lot harder when it's, you know, when you have one partner looking more feminine than the other, and it's like they don't get believed. The other partner won't get believed that they're getting beat up by the more feminine looking person. And it's just,
they be feisty.
Not all of them, but no, it's part of the research that I'm doing too for my final project. What better tools can, you know, we use to identify people in the LGBTQ community that are being victims of domestic abuse, and how can we kind of distinguish who is actually going through domestic violence. It's very interesting. There's still not as much research as we would like for there to be, but it's growing, and that's why I feel like I have to do my little portion to kind of add to that.
We're so diverse. I love it. We just have different point of views from all kind of aspects, but that's beautiful, because you just taught me something that I never really put any thought to, you know, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people who don't put thought to, you know, the LGBTQ plus community and domestic violence. But I mean, I
know I'm a proud, I don't know how to say this, but you know, just speaking for people who like recognize things like head on versus allowing something to go on for years and for years. You know, growing up, I've seen a person who has had multiple different relationships, and just about all but maybe one have I never seen it get physical. And you know, it's crazy because like when you're a person who's growing up around domestic violence, you know things are wrong, and you know, but as a person who's now an adult, it's like when I recognize that somebody is a certain way, I nip that shit in the butt real quick, you know. And granted, it may take a while, but it ain't gonna take years down the line for me to realize like what's in front of me. You know, I definitely have. And I think with domestic violence, like I think somebody had said about how it's what they do for you, or like what you wear. Still, you said something about people will tell you what you wear. I remember I was dating someone, and it was like a summertime, and this was somebody who was giving me money because he was able to give me money. You know, whatever.
Sponsor.
Basically, he was a sponsor. He was giving me an allowance like weekly, and you know, and this is somebody who I consider to be my boyfriend weekly. And it was somebody who I considered to be my boyfriend or whatever.
Keep doing your thing, sponsors.
No, fuck him. He was older than
Not
me.
that one, just the rest of the sponsors.
That sponsor, but
I mean, I guess there's good sponsors, right? But fuck that one. But yeah, and I think a lot of that boils down to also them being insecure too. So not only just the women being insecure, but the men, because they know where they lack at and wherever that may be. So like this person was using money to compensate for where he lacked at. And granted, you may have had all these other people around you hyping you up because of your status. But in reality, you know where you lacked that on the back end. And it was crazy because like in the summertime, it's summer, and we know we're in Houston. So in Houston, it gets like up to 110 sometimes.
15, I think, this year.
And we were going to like a park for a party or something. And I pulled up. I had on shorts because it's the summertime. The fuck?
And so skirt,
you know what I'm saying? And then what you got on? And he was like, if I knew that you was wearing shorts, I would have told you to change and make you wear something else. And I'm thinking, tell me to change.
Make you wear something else.
Make me wear something else. Like, where did you get off thinking you control what I wear?
You know, I would have had some smart ass fucking answer.
Ooh,
like, you don't give me. First of all, you don't give me enough money.
And even if he did, I was not changing
it don't matter.
my clothes.
I would still say, first of all, you can't.
I control what I wear. Nobody's ever gonna tell me what to wear, and that goes even beyond this conversation of like marriage and having husbands and having them respect and boundaries and all that shit. But just, hey, what are you doing? Stop. Goddamn dog. But I think it goes beyond.
I'm
like
trying to control the dog. No, I'm just kidding.
She's trying.
First of all, I don't know what he's trying to get at, but it's behind the damn TV, and he really wants it. And I think it's some shit that he's been chewing on for the longest.
Yeah.
But I just feel like nobody should be able to tell somebody what to wear. In shorts, I can't help it that I'm 5'7" and my legs are longer than my torso. Any shorts I put on is gonna be short, and I'm not gonna walk around here with Capri Suns on, or you know the Capri Suns.
Capri Suns.
Capris on.
Shannon Williams.
Oh my goodness! Because you don't want
not the Capri Suns. Oh man.
But yeah. So I don't want to walk around here with no damn capris on or like shorts to my knees because you want me to be less attractive so other people don't look at my legs, and my legs are basically one of my assets. And it's just like, oh, if I would have known you was wearing shorts, I would have made you change. You can't make me.
I think you were talking about Bermuda shorts. So is that going up?
No, but there was also some things called capris too. They go to your ankles.
They were Capri Suns a drink. For kids.
Anyways.
Look out.
They might have had some Capri Suns at the park.
Hey, they're on sale right now.
But it's like that. Plus like other things that kind of just made me start to like realize like this issues. Like he got control issues. And you're used to using like what you give people in exchange for being able to control them. And for a long period of time, I dealt with it. I let it be what it is. And it got to the point where he was even paying my rent. But it's just like, but because I'm a woman who I'm always going to have my own. And I always stand for, and it's because of, I guess, because of how I grew up.
That part.
Just knowing just like how men can be, even at a young age, just knowing like you have to be an independent ass woman. You can't let nobody sit here and give you shit. Because just knowing like how I grew up, people can throw up in your face all the time what they do for you. And just being even young, I'm like, I don't want nobody to take nothing from me or tell me what they did for me. It makes me think they got to hold that shit over my head. So even then, while dating him, okay, cool, you paying my rent. Okay, cool, you give me money.
That was chump change.
However, I can leave your ass there and still do all this shit anyway. So when it got to the point where I just felt like, and I think one time he told me, well, if you ain't doing this, this, and this, I'm gonna go out and cheat anyway. Okay, well, bitch, bye.
I would have still taken his money and let him say,
I got my rent paid for that month though.
Shay, I would have dragged as long as I could, and then I would have found a better.
No, you're not gonna sit here and talk to me no kind of way and feel like you got one up on me. You can leave today. I do not care. And he left that day, and guess what? He tried to come back. Sir, you ain't gonna tell me to my face you're gonna cheat on me, then you're gonna come back.
And see, that is where the cycle begins. Because if you would have taken him back, guess what? He would have did the same.
He would have known he can do the shit all over again.
Yeah.
No, ma'am, I'm not the one to play with. I will show you, but I can tell you. Good day. Bye-bye. Have a good one.
I probably would I would probably string him along and be like, okay, we'll pay my rent for a couple months, and then I'm gonna see if I take you back. And then I'll be like, nah, fuck no, I'm not gonna take you back.
Too bad.
I just need my rent paid.
He was too hip for that. Like he wasn't gonna pay anything and not get what he wanted out of the situation. Nah. And it got to the point where you're not attracted to, at least for me. If I'm attracted to you, I'm not giving you sex. Period. I'm not doing none of that sexual nothing. So he wouldn't get nothing out of me. Especially if you turn me off. So there wouldn't have been nothing he could have done to make me want to fuck him anyway. So you told me you're gonna cheat on me, that's all I need to hear. Have a good day.
She said no sexual seduction.
None of that. No money, no nothing can buy my happiness.
With her Capri Suns,
I can do it myself. I can do it myself.
Shout out to the Capri Suns.
Girl. Hey, I'm trying to get past. You keep bringing it up.
She said, Steph, she said, why you bringing up old shit?
Hey, get the move on. That was like 5 minutes ago. Old ass in the past ass.
You want to talk about the Capri Suns? I'm like, shit. You had some Capri Suns on? Okay, girl. Okay, never. I'm gonna let it go.
She was thirsty for her.
We ain't gonna be able to even edit this out at this point. You might as well just add it part of the damn video.
It could be part of the bloopers.
All right. So,
anyways, next question.
Do we have time for the next question?
Hopefully, we're gonna see. So, last question is abandoning your child to chase your dream career. What do you think about that?
And just to give some background information about this, in the movie Bissonnet, the officer that wasn't a cricket cop, his daughter actually was a prostitute, but he abandoned his daughter when she was a kid, like a baby, and it was so that he could go pursue his career as an officer.
So was that supposed to be the plot twist in the movie? Because I was like, what the hell? What?
That was one of the plot twists, and the other plot twist was the crooked cop. So you had the undercover and the real undercover, and then you had the crooked cop, and they were all working together.
Shout out to the indie film industry, but that film, they had too much going on. I'm sorry. There was too much going on.
It had, that's how I was like,
what you expected.
They had a lot of plot twists, a lot of, the storyline was pretty good. It was better than I expected, but then
it didn't make sense to me at the end, because I was like, what?
So yeah, at the end, apparently the whole reason he was being undercover was because he was trying to protect his daughter, who was a prostitute, and eventually, I guess, come out and tell her that he was her father.
Right.
So this is where this question comes up from, because he basically abandoned his child and left her with her mother, who apparently her mother was like on drugs or something, and leaving her. She got a boyfriend, and the boyfriend actually abused her and molested her, which is how she ended up turning into prostitution and not really caring. So so that's why I was saying, like, is it really worth abandoning your child to chase your career? And I personally am not in agreement with that. I wish we had a male perspective about it, because I feel like women, we're like tied to our children, but I also know women who have left their children behind to pursue their career. So I personally,
I've heard of women that left their children go pursue a dick. So
that's true.
You know, there's women out there that will leave their children because, oh, my new boyfriend don't want my kid.
That's true.
This is my mentality, though. Didn't you go through the pain of giving labor to these kids? Like, didn't you carry
them for 9 months? Yes, this is your heartbeat.
It goes back to insecurity. Those men being in control, they whooped, they whipped, not whooped.
It can't be that good.
Some can be whooped and whipped, but it's it goes back to that, and it's kind of sad.
If you don't like my child, you don't like me. If you can't help me take care of my child, you want to call yourself my man, be in my life, you're the figure, then there's nothing you can do for me, because I'm not going to have you around my child and there's some weird ass energy going on. Like, no, and I'm not going to leave my child for you. What kind of person would that make me?
You know how they say in Spanish, te llevas la gallina, te llevas el pollo. I don't know if you've ever heard that, but it's basically saying you take the chicken, you take the chick. So it's like you can't take the chicken without taking her little chicklets.
You want my kid, or you don't want that.
So it's a whole package.
Yeah. And
even if it's a man on the reverse side, if I'm dating a man and he says he has a kid, and if I continue to choose to date you, then that's okay. Well, I'm accepting you and your kid. You know, I can't say, well, I'm not going to date you because you have, or I'm going to date you, but your kid is a problem. Like, well, then go date somebody who don't have a child. It's just that simple.
And that's where I think I'm a little when it comes to that. And I know, and I'll admit it. Like, I had a child and I dated with a child. And it's like, you know, I wouldn't bring anybody around my child until it was more of a serious relationship. But I dated once. I dated a guy who had children, and never again. I swore, I was like, never. I'm not gonna fucking deal with baby mamas. I'm not gonna deal with other little stinky ass people, kids that don't know how to act right. No, never again. And I was like,
it all depends. You're right, on the baby mama and on the kids. You know, depending on how
to me, after that, it didn't depend. I swore off of it. I was like, I'm not dating anybody that has kids. I'm just not doing it.
But what if you got a baby mama who don't even want him, and all she want to do is co-parent? And what if they got a kid that's like straight AIDS?
I don't care. That's my money. Them kids is taking my money.
I think child support, don't get married to them.
I'm trying to ask myself if I would. I think I would. I wouldn't care if I was dating a guy with kids, as long as his baby mama drama was in line.
Is there a number to those kids, or you just don't care if he got kids? Or is it like 1, 2 is okay, but like there's 5 kids?
It depends also, because if it's a number, like if you got 5 kids and you making $30,000 a year, then we have a problem. Yeah. So, but if you have 5 kids,
got 5 kids,
you're making $200,000 a year. That's different, because you can take care of your kids and you can take care of me.
I always say that, like, Nick Cannon can afford to take care of all his 25 kids.
You have to think about it. If you have a man,
you think about after taxes, $200,000 annually is going to be like $150,000 net. So technically, if you're on child support, that's 20% possibly. He might.
If he's properly co-parenting with the other parent, then he wouldn't be on child support.
But what if she bitter? You don't know that.
That's what I'm saying. Did you not hear what I said? If they are properly, if she bitter, then they're not properly co-parenting, because she's gonna be making his life miserable. But if you are properly co-parenting with the other person, then it depends on these kids' age. Some of them may be 17, 18, 19, 20.
That's true.
You got 5 kids.
Well, then he must goddamn be 40.
Now, if you got 5. A 2, 3, 4, 5-year-old, that's a different story. Because clearly y'all was hitting the sheets recently. I don't even know if that chapter is closed yet. Maybe we could have a good time for a small time. I don't know, but for a short time.
Not for a long time.
Not for a long time.
For a short time, not a long time.
You know, but if you have kids, like some people do have, they be in marriages and they have kids, and then it just don't work out. And I mean, I think they deserve a chance to meet someone. And, if that someone is, you have to also remember there's people out here who aren't able to have kids, and maybe they want.
I'm biased. I
feel
like
you gotta look at it from every perspective.
I feel like if you're a woman and you have more kids, yes, you can date men that don't have kids because you already got your own kids. But men, it's like, if you got 5 kids, nah, I'm not gonna. I think like men are a lot more irresponsible than women. Like if a woman has 5 kids,
responsible.
No, that's a big no for me. Like you got kids, nah.
Well, we can agree.
So
I can't, because that means I'm gonna have to be trading off weekends, and I got to deal with your baby mama. And what if she wants to go to the mall to do her hair, and I got to go pick up your child? No.
Y'all a family. That's a family. It's like a family thing.
That's his family. I didn't help in that family.
So,
because guess what? When I want to whoop their asses, I'm not going to be able to. Because they ain't my kids. All of a sudden, they're not going to be my kids.
Yeah.
Oh, no. I ain't whipping those by the kid. Yeah, you ain't about to have me in the Harris County jail. Or any county. Any county.
If they need a good ass whipping, they need a good
So it's crazy because, like, granted, I only have one child, but I've always dated guys who never had kids. And it's not because I'm just like seeking guys who never had kids. That's just pretty much who's attracted to me, guys who don't have children. But speaking of Ari Fletcher previously, basically, Moneybag Yo, he has other kids. And I know there's always a topic of conversation coming up about whether or not, why they not married. He keep giving her all these expensive rings, cars, this and that. But why they not married? Why you ain't getting no engagement ring? People so fucking messy. But anyway, she was just like, he got kids. He on child support. She make money. And if she was to marry this man, they could come after her for child support as well in relation to his income and hers. So she's like, I'm not marrying him. They're not about to get my damn money. And
guess what?
Crazy?
anything he gives her while they're dating, he can't get back. When they're married, he can get half of her shit. So she's playing it smart. Because if you're dating and you're giving me that is a gift. I don't have to give him shit back.
Yeah.
But if they're married, it becomes different. Like now it's it's common property. So now we have to split it in half.
I think there's
I didn't think about that because I'm like, I'm thinking, I'm dating. I guess it's the whole with kids situation. I'm like, I'll date somebody with kids. And eventually, if you fall in love with that person, you might think about marrying that person. But I have friends who were saying how, like, she's married to somebody. I think he has another child. And she was like, yeah, such and such baby mama comes for us all the time. Like she be coming for them, and they're married. I think they're in the military, but they're married, and his baby mama be coming for their income, I guess, or whatever the case may be. And I didn't think about that until like really the Ari Fletcher thing. But I didn't know that was a thing. Like I thought that if child support gets put on the man, it's his responsibility, it's his child. But then not knowing that if you create a union with that person, and then you're on child support, and they can also come for your income as the woman. I didn't think about that. So that shit got me to thinking, like, you know what? Maybe we should date men with kids. Because if I fall in love with you and you want to marry me, I don't know how I feel about paying child support for your child that I wasn't there to create.
I need to get my baby daddy with a woman that makes money so I can come after her.
I think there's things out there that can be put in place before you get married to avoid stuff like that. Yeah. So, I mean, you just got to be smart about it. Like, if you're going to marry a guy with...
Come on, future law school students.
Smart about it. Like, go and do your research. Because there's definitely... I know there's a law that says that if you... whatever you got before the marriage, you can cut it off.
If it's in your name, it's basically yours. If you have a business... and then you get married, my business is not in your name. I have like two. My business is not in nobody's name but mine. So you can't come for nothing that's mine.
I think it becomes a problem if then you get married and that person starts contributing to your business, even though it was your sole business.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how do you?
Again, I said it has to be. I'm not saying go out there and get with baby daddy who got 5 kids and he not taking care of them. But I'm behind on child support. All of this.
That's irresponsibleness.
Yeah, because that's the only way. Right, they're only gonna come for the spouse's income is if you're behind on child support. If you're up to date with your payments, they ain't gonna come after nobody's income.
That's true.
So that's what I'm saying. You have to you got to be smart about it. Like you look, and then again, if you got 5 kids and they all under 5, come on, sir. That's just pure irresponsible.
Yeah, damn,
it is because
he celebrated a birthday or something.
every month it's a birthday. You like, God damn, I'm at Chuck E. Cheese every month.
Not Chuck E. Cheese, the ghetto.
But is it Jumping World now that the kids like to go to?
Yeah, that's the nicer, more up class birthday celebration.
Nice anymore. They have another one. They have another one that's nicer than Jumping World has become the ghetto too. But yeah.
What is it called? Main event. I think that's where my nephew's had theirs. Main event.
Too many kids.
I think it's called Bounce something. I don't remember the name.
Yeah, Bouncy World, something like that. Yeah.
It's a lot more bougie, but it also costs more money. So
see, that's why the older my child get, we doing what you want to do. We ain't gotta have no parties. You want to get your hair done. You want to go out of town. What you want to do? But I'm not for no parties these days because I don't feel like having to coordinate that shit and pay for that shit. I'd rather just pay for you to have a good time.
That's why I got mine used to taking trips because, baby, I'm a benefit from your birthday.
My baby be happy to hop on a flight.
Oh, Lord, these Boja kids. They catching flights and stuff.
Privilege.
Period. So can't no man impress you with no goddamn airport, okay? You done that. You got your passport. You done went out the country. All that. What else can you do, sir? Period.
Yes.
Shit.
So we want to thank you for tuning into our podcast. Again, if you enjoyed tuning in, please subscribe, like, comment, and just give us feedback. We love feedback because we can always learn from one another. There's some things that we may be ignorant of that you can bring more light to us for. Again, thank you. And see you next week for your weekly scoop serving.
Bye.
Bye.